Hey, Satanico here once again for God Loves Comics and another little comic book haul video. Very little. I've got some Silver Age beauties here, and let's get right into it. First up is this one. This is Detective Comics number 398. Now, this is part of just two comics that I bought together, and I paid, what did I pay for these two? $27.88. Unfortunately, with shipping and tax, it ended up being $37, but that's okay because this comic alone, this isn't that spectacular. This is a Neil Adams cover, but not really one of my favorite Adams covers. And the interior is Gil Kane, who I love, Bob Brown, who's fine, but nothing spectacular. But this is still about a $20 comic in this condition. And remember, I paid, as I said, with the shipping and the tax, I paid $37 for these two comics. But this is a really nice one, as you've seen in my previous haul and another older haul. Now I've got about 3 copies of these. As you can see, this is grade of fine, very fine. I think it's actually probably a 6.5 to 7, maybe a 7.5. I'd have to look at it again, but actually a really nice copy. The corners look great, the spine looks great, maybe a few color breaking ticks, and there may be a little crease in the bottom right hand corner, just a tiny color breaking crease, but beautiful copy. And this, of course, actually is Neil Adams' cover, one of his better covers, a really beautiful cover. I like anything with Enemy Ace. This beautiful red background, the World War I fighter plane, and I think let's see, as I said, paid $37 with all the taxes and shipping. This is a $65 comic in 6.0, and that's the highest grade they have on my comic shop. So this is, like I said, 7.0. So getting it for $28 plus the shipping is still a steal. I mean, a $65 comic. This is in better shape than that one, and so I mean, but you know, you have to find the right buyer for it. But either way, you could easily say, if I wanted to move it quickly, $50 comic, sell this one for $15, then I've still made back twice as much as I paid for it, and a really great issue. Now this one is next up is one that I overpaid for significantly, I think, even though actually it comes out okay. This is Detective 410, again a Neil Adams cover, and the problem with this one is that first of all, it's in beautiful condition. It's in a nice little Mylar snug, beautiful corners, beautiful spine. I mean, this is a high-grade copy. 8.5 definitely, 9.0, even maybe a 9.2, very possible. But for whatever reason, there was a bidding war on this one, maybe because of the condition. So this sold for $49 by itself, and not typically like a super one of the detectives, you know, the previous one, with Enemy Ace. This one's one that's always sought after in a way because of the great cover. This one has a great cover with the lobster boy, but and the pink background. It's a really beautiful cover, but it's just not usually such a high dollar comic. But I think because of this condition, kind of launched a bidding war. What's worse, I paid $49 for it, but with shipping and tax, it ended up being $59 for this one comic. Now, you go on to, there are no high-grade issues. They're very low-grade issues on my comic shop, which is actually going to be the case for most of this haul. But you go on Go Collect, and a 9.0 goes for $90, 9.2 goes for $140, but an 8.5 is only $48. So if this is only an 8.5 and you could sell it for $48, then that's exactly fair value. I paid $49 for it. Of course, I'll lose a little bit of shipping. If I could get $70, you know, 80, 90, that would be great. But it is in beautiful condition, but you just have to find the right buyer. I think it's one that I could probably give to my comic shop as an auction and definitely make my money back on it, even with their take. And it's probably very much worth slabbing because you don't see very many copies in this condition, and since I paid so much for it. But anyway, now we move on to the rest of this lot, which is only 6 issues, but I paid $165 for just 6 issues. But as I show them, you'll understand why. The first one is not a big splash, not a big spectacular splash, but actually a comic that's very hard to find in nice grade, and this is a very nice grade. It's not like a perfect, it's not fantastic, but it's definitely a fine plus, I think for sure. The cover art again is by Neil Adams. The interior art is by Irv Novick with inks by Dick Giordano. Then there's Frank Robbins scripting, which he was doing a lot of scripting for Detective at this time period, and Don Heck. Plus there's an Alex Toth reprint. So this is maybe a $25 to $30 comic in this condition. That's pretty much the average. So it's not going to go much higher than that. But and I always like the character of the Creeper. But this is one that, for whatever reason, you rarely find in good condition. Or, certainly not in condition this nice. Next up is one of my favorites. I keep buying this comic in duplicates as well for whatever reason. I love the green cover. And I think it's a great Neil Adams, cover as well. And this is, of course, Tech 416. In Tech 416, this one was identified as having a slight stain in the upper left corner, I should say. So there's it's hard to see the stain itself, but you can see what looks like possible water damage, which is a little worrisome. There's a little kind of groove there. Because after that, there's also a date stamp, September 7th. That's fine. Date stamps are pretty cool. And other than that, it's still in very nice condition. Of course, the bag makes it look a lot better than it might if I took it out of the bag. But we're still looking at fine. 5.5, I think reasonable. 6.0, very possible. Somebody else might, if you say, hey, no way, not with if that's a water. If that's water damage, no way, then feel free to tell me. But I think definitely a 5.5 to 6.0. And this, as I said, cover art by Neil Adams, Man-Bat Madness, script and art by Frank Robbins. I really like Frank Robbins' very sort of esoteric art inside of this. And also it has art by Don Heck, and it has another Alex Toth reprint. Not really my favorite Alex Toth stuff. I think some of it's like on the Bat Hound and stuff, which might be cool, but looking at it, it looks a little more bland than you would hope for typical Alex Toth. But he was doing, as always, his minimalist thing, and sometimes it worked, and sometimes it could be a little bit blah at times. Next up is Tech 414, another beautiful copy. Corners look great, the spine looks great. Yeah, it's just a beautiful copy. Not a big book, but an 8.5 that sells for $65. Cover by Neil Adams, pencils by Irv Novick again, Dick Giordano inks, another Frank Robbins and Don Heck story, and another Alex Toth reprint. So no Adams art in the interior is always, going to pull it down a little bit, but another great cover and really nice condition. I said 8.5 at $65. I don't know. This looks like it could be an 8, could be a 7.5. So you're still talking, if you could sell it in that range, so $65. If you could sell it for 40, I would be thrilled with that. Next up, beautiful. Look at this. Beautiful copy. The corners look great. The spine looks great. It's hard to find a flaw here. I'm assuming still I'm just going to knock it down and say, okay, 9.0, maybe, maybe higher. But I mean, I think definitely a 9.0, and I'm probably undergrading it because I'm always being cautious. But this is, again, a beautiful Neal Adams cover. Bob Brown, Frank Giacoia, and Gil Kane and Vinnie Coletta in the interior. Again, only low grades on my comic shop, but on Go Collect, sales for $9 or $120, sales for an 8.5 or $110. Again, you know, it's in beautiful condition. Probably to get high dollar for this, you know, to get around $80, $90, $100 for this, you probably have to slab it, I think. But if you sell it raw, maybe on my comic shop it causes an auction, you know, a bidding war, but sell it raw, I mean, again, I would be thrilled to get 50, 60 bucks for this. Thrilled to get that. Especially considering what I paid for the entire lot. But now we're getting closer to the end, and this is a beautiful copy of 402. Again, a great Neal Adams cover, and it has Neal Adams and Dick Giordano interior art, Kane and Coletta interior art, a letter from writer Marty Pasco, who just passed away a few weeks ago, which is very sad. I think he wrote for Swamp Thing. He wrote for a lot of different titles for DC and was relatively young. I think he was in his mid-60s, so very sad to hear from Marty Pasco passing away. But he wrote a fan letter into this issue, and then would soon be writing for DC Comics. I don't think he was very long after this. Again, let's see. My comic shop only has low-grade issues of this. So Go Collect has an 8.0 for 110 and an 8.5 for 160. And I mean, when I say they have a 110, and it's different than my comic shop, where my comic shop has those listed for sale. These are sales, confirmed sales, usually multiple sales that average either $110 for an 8.0 or $160 for an 8.5. Is this an 8.0? Corners look great. Man, really nice. Cover looks great. There's a tiniest, probably can't even see it, right where my thumb is. Tiniest little chip. Spine looks immaculate. So I think definitely an 8.0. I think very possibly a 9.0. And then here is the big splash. This is why there were 27 bids for this auction. 27, I mean, I think you could have gotten 27 for these, but the reason what jacked the price up and why people were so hungry for this auction, and I'm proud to say that I sniped it. The closest bid to me was $162. I don't remember what my bid was, whether I won it by a narrow margin or whether I probably bid like 180 for it, and winning it for 165. Of course, I paid 180 for it because the shipping was $15. But there you go. That's the big key right here. It is issue number 400. And I've got it rated, or graded, I should say, as a 6.0, which is not bad at all. The major flaw on this copy, right there. Let's see where my thumb is. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see. A little chipping. Even the cover, it just looks like it's folded back a little bit. And need to take it out of the bag and try to straighten that out. It won't change it, but just looks better. It's got slight blunting up in the top right corner, and a few spine ticks here and there. Beautiful copy overall. I mean, beautiful mid-grade copy, I should say. And it also has some chipping along this edge right here. That's what drops it down to around the 6.0. But I think 6.0 is very reasonable. And 400, covered by Neal Adams, milestone issue featuring the first appearance of Man-Bat, one of the great villains, and it doesn't make I don't think he's appeared in any of the Batman movies. I'm surprised. I think he would be a really fun villain. I may be wrong about that, but I don't think he has. At least none of the good ones. So we're looking at first appearance of Man-Bat, script by Frank Robbins, pencils by Neil Adams, inks by Dick Giordano, a burial for Batgirl with a script by the great Denny O'Neil, pencils by the fantastic Gil Kane, inks by the underappreciated Vinnie Coletta. And my comic shop has the highest grade my comic shop has on this is a 2.0 consigned for $159. Now Go Collect has a 5.5 at $190 and a 6.0 at $230. So you can see why I paid $165 for this, for this lot. I mean, you're looking right here at a $165 comic. Even a 2.0, they're selling it for $160. If it's a 6.0, I mean, it's selling for $230. So already made my money back if I decide to sell it. That's great. And then you can see all the cash. Not that I'm looking at it that way. I love the, I love this era. I wasn't around for this era. I missed most of the Neil Adams, big splash. And so I've since really fallen in love with these, the Man-Bat covers in particular. But, you're looking at, as I said, I didn't do the math, but, even if these just sell for $30 a piece, that's another $150 for 5 copies. Oh, actually, there's the big $60. There's a couple of copies in there that I bought separately, but still, for the main lot, if I sold the other 5 for $30 a piece for $150, and then was able to sell this for $150, then I've doubled, tripled my money, doubled. So that's pretty much it. Very happy to have these. This is one of my bigger villain keys that I have, because I've never been a key collector, but it's been fun picking up some lately. And very happy to have these Neil Adams and to have won that big auction. So that's it for now. I've got plenty more comics, in terms of these very small hauls left to do. So be back soon. Thanks very much for listening. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And did I say comment? Feel free to comment. I don't get very many comments. So thanks very much. Talk to you later. Bye.